Hello, my name is Bryce Tubbs. With me today is Beatrice Kim. She's an executive coach and a life coach at B Kim Coaching, where she helps people find their life purpose. I'm extremely excited to be able to share her story with you guys today. Thank you so much for coming on the show, B.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And if you guys are watching from any location outside of our free community, I just want to personally invite you because I understand that right now some might be feeling very isolated. So if you want a place where people are positive and inspiring each other every single day, come and join us inside of the community by clicking the link either above or below the video. Now, B, what was life like before you got into coaching, and what was the catalyst that brought you into the space?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I've been in the tech space and founder space for the last 15 years or so of my life. And I found myself pretty much like clockwork every 2 years being like, what the heck am I doing with my life? Right? Just having that kind of like crisis of just like, I spent the first 5 years of my life right out of college being management consulting for Accenture. And again, just feeling like, oh, I'm just making these big companies richer and I'm getting better and better at doing something that I hate. And so the further I get along in my professional career, the more I'm getting good at something that I'm just getting, my options get limited. So finally, I got my own life coach. Actually, that's what did it. That's what actually translated and gave me bias to action. Where maybe every 2 years, like clockwork, I was just thinking about, well, what can I do? I researched being an esthetician. I researched going back into school. I did research. But it wasn't until I got my own life coach that I actually translated that into action. And my life coach, I'll never forget, she looked at me and she was like, B, I'm done with you researching. What are you going to do about it? And literally that week, I enrolled into my own coaching certification program. And that the rest was history. But it wasn't until I experienced it for myself to witness the power of coaching that then I realized, there's real power. And now having done this for years and years and working with hundreds of clients, I realize, yes, coaching can change lives. It does change lives.
Mm. Yeah, let me ask you this question. So what problem people generally trying to solve when they come to work with you?
When I first started my business, everyone tells you from the get-go, you need to have a niche. Got to have a niche. You got to serve a very small, narrow group of people. Otherwise, people won't come to you. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what kind of niche is that? The more and more I coach, what actually has come to light is, yes, we are all unique. And we all, have our own things that make us unique human beings. And we are also very alike. Whether you're a stay-at-home parent, whether you're a C-suite executive, whether you are a founder, an investor, an individual contributor, all of the same problems come to be.
Mm-hmm.
How do I realize my purpose? I have the same types of fears, those critical voices within my head that are blocking me. What are my drivers? These are all similarities that I actually find great comfort in, that there is this commonality in the human experience. So I actually am okay with coaching anyone and everyone. And I have coached many people across many different spectrums, but I specifically coach people who are either founders, who are young professionals, women of color, and then last but not least is new parents. That those people tend to come find me. Those are the types of experiences I can bring to the table, and I think that's why they come and find me. But again, very similar questions, similar blockers, similar drivers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, even when they're talking about niching, they don't realize that a niche can be a type of thing that you solve.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's funny that you bring that up. Let me ask you this question. So right now, people might be questioning their purpose as we're in this time of transition. Some people might be furloughed. Some people might be finding new jobs, or they're stuck inside the house and they can't really move around. Can you really talk about, maybe what one of your biggest takeaways from this quarantine time has been?
Yeah. I think that we are seeing a huge there's multiple layers happening globally at this moment. So not only are we in the midst of a pandemic, which is a big, heavy layer, we're also in the midst, I believe, as a huge social conscious awakening with the Black Lives Matter movement that's kind of gaining globally. And people are starting to ask themselves and say, like, what can I do? Like, this feels like a special moment, and I don't know yet what to do. What can I do? A lot of people are asking and coming to this. What can I do? And I think that there's a couple of things that I'm seeing in my own clients, that I'm hearing as I'm talking with other coaches, is first and foremost, yes, absolutely. Use this special time to do that hard inner work, to come and face and do the shadows, come to face with your shadows. And sometimes your shadows is being able to give yourself full permission to experience joy. I do want to highlight that, because some people are like, oh, I don't have problems with shadows. I tend to gravitate towards, doing the hard, messy, negative stuff. I do want to acknowledge, well, how is it with joy? How are you giving yourself permission for joy? And so, yes, use this time for the hard inner work. But as you're doing the inner work, also acknowledge that there's that interpersonal and larger rippling impact that you can do that seems to be really impactful right now at this point in the pandemic. What is there something that you can do? And people are hungry. People are hungry to do the inner work, but I want to press that beyond just doing the individual work. How does that expand beyond? How do you expand that beyond just you? Whether it's, creating a new community, right? That only you have access to. Maybe it's having difficult conversations with your family members that only you have access to. I promise that whoever is listening to this, you have unique access to groups and people around you that no one else does. And I encourage you to look at those and do something about that. Did that answer your question?
It did. I mean, even that's a great point. Getting connected, especially right now, some people might feel disconnected because, they're either being bombarded by negativity or they're seeing the news. That's why we always encourage people to come and join us inside of our community, because, it takes a long time for us to be able to curate out negativity. So inside of the community, it's one of the few places on the internet where there's actual positivity. You just come in there, see all the nice people, all the nice coaches who, can provide you help for your life. And then you just go on your day and you feel empowered and you feel inspired. That's why you have those links above or below the video. Now, let me just ask you this question. So thinking kind of as we're transitioning out in really the future, what does the vision for your life look like for you, as far down the road as you like to think or talk about?
Yeah. So as you know, as a coach, we have a lot of different types of tool sets. One of the things that I do with my clients is envisioning exercises. What does your life look like 30 years from now? What does it look like 5, 10 at the end of your life, right? And so those are things that we do as coaches for ourselves. And believe it or not, oftentimes my biggest critical demon that I'm fighting is trying to be satisfied and be present with right now. Because I have a tendency to constantly think like, okay, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? And that might resonate for a lot of your listeners. But when I really think and pause and reflect, I realize that my wisest self, my inner leader, whatever you want to call it, who I am at the end of my journey, when I reflect back on this moment in my life, I am actually doing the things that are important for me. I am fulfilling my values. I'm a huge believer in journaling, but I'm someone who hates journaling. I just believe in the power of journaling. And what I do actually, and what I encourage my clients to do, is I do a values journal, a values tally journal. So at the end of each day, it's not me writing out what I did or what I learned about the day, what I learned about myself in this process. It's truly, what did I do in the values that I think are important for me around community, around physical health, around professional growth and personal development? What did I do? And I actually tally that. And I tell you that because I know that when I look back, I want to know that I focused on the things that I know are important for me. And I made that impact. And I was purposeful and intentional about it. So my success for me is that I want to be able to be present and really live and be okay in that versus constantly thinking about what's next, what's next, what's next.
Mm. Let me ask you this question, in keeping in touch with, the present and right now. Ooh, I was actually going to ask you a different question, but let me ask you this question. So a lot of people that I speak to, right, they're scared or they think of the purpose of their life as like this one solid unchanging thing where if they make a mistake, then they've lost the purpose and their life is destroyed. Can you maybe talk about what life purpose actually means? And is it one big thing or does it shift?
Yeah, I love that question. And I feel like you already know the answer just the way they asked that question. Which is, yeah, it's often different. We're not the same person that we were 10 years ago, even a year ago, right? Just as the way that we reevaluate our values. And there may be things that are evergreen, right? Maybe it's important that freedom is a big value, a personal value of mine, but maybe the way that I define it or what fulfilling values actually means for me shifts. Freedom for me now with 2 young kids is very different from what freedom was for me when I was, straight out of college and didn't have a family in that way. So there's different, so the same thing as values, I want to say your life purpose shifts. And life purpose often isn't, my life purpose is to be a doctor or to be an investor. It's often not that. It's really like my life purpose right now at this very moment is to live big and unapologetically and ignite others to do the same. I can't live the walk and walk the talk if I don't do it myself, right? And so it's incredible for me to live my life purpose so that I can help ignite and help others to do so.
Yes. Where can people go to learn more about you? Where can they go to connect with you further?
There's a couple of places. The first is definitely a website. So beakim.com, beakim.com. And then LinkedIn. It's confusing. I also kind of did this purposefully, but my married last name is Bahn, Bahn. So my LinkedIn is B Bahn.
Uh,
But my website is BKim, and that's actually my legal name too.
cool. Now, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate speaking with you and learning a little bit more about you.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
And, for those watching, we just thoroughly hope that you found this valuable, especially the tip about the life purpose. I know that just either in forums and just people just walking up, that's a big thing. So I'm really glad that you were here to kind of dispel that myth and maybe take some pressure off of people who are struggling to find their purpose. Now, once again, if you've been looking for a place where others are improving themselves, and helping others do the same, I recommend you go check out that community by clicking the link either above or below the video. Now, hopefully you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed creating it. Feel free to hit that share button so other people can get some great value as well. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you in the next episode. And we're done recording in 3 and 2 and 1.